Hi, this is Philip, the everyday expat Cebu. Living in the Philippines on a fixed income is the subject for today. So let's begin with the simple idea. What others have done, you can do too. Now that ought to put you at rest. The guys already come over here on small fixed incomes, large incomes. They did it, you can do it. Now you can research and find out stuff, but at some point, as I've said previously, you've got to make the leap. In this episode, I want to explore something I call the Filipino economy. Not simply the prices of things, but how relationships, culture, and everyday practices can affect how far your money goes. Understanding how to navigate the Filipino economy can become a valuable resource. Sometimes saving money isn't about finding a cheaper product. It's about understanding how things work. One of the most important things I've learned is this: the Filipino economy is deeply relational. Let me give you a simple example. I live in a development advertised as high-end. Right next door is a village of fishermen. Every day a fisherman's wife walks through our development carrying a bucket of fresh fish from her husband's most recent catch. You know the fish is fresh because her livelihood depends upon it. If people became sick from buying her fish, she wouldn't have much of a business. She may also give you a better price than the wet market, and you don't have to drive to the market or send your wife there. You've saved money, you've bought fresh fish, and you've helped a local family earn a living, and something else happens. People remember you. You become the foreigner who buys from the fisherman's wife. That's part of navigating the Filipino economy. The same thing happens with fruit grown at home. It's common to see vegetables growing around Filipino homes. Some Filipinos even buy canvas planting bags, like my wife, from Lazada, so they can grow food in a small place or a small space. And then there are the malunggay trees. A few leaves can become part of a simple soup, and I've talked about the nutritional value of malunggay in my earlier episodes. Making your expat adventure a healthier and longer story was the one with the malunggay soup and talking about the benefits of malunggay. These things may seem insignificant, but over time they become part of how you live, and that's an important distinction. Having money gives you purchasing power. Learning the culture gives you navigating power. Let me give you a more complicated example. During the pandemic, my wife needed a new passport. The regional office was located inside a Gaisano mall. When we arrived, we weren't quite sure what we were supposed to do. There were rows of chairs, people waiting, and the usual bureaucracy. Then we noticed a young man who seemed to know everybody in the office. He had previously worked there, but the pandemic had affected his employment. He was now working independently as an intermediary, helping people navigate the passport process. We hired him. He knew where to go, who to talk to, and how the process worked. We saved ourselves a great deal of time, and I suspect money. That experience taught me something about the relational nature of doing business here. In many Western settings, we tend to organize things around efficiency. Here, relationships can sometimes accomplish what efficiency alone cannot. You see it in ordinary things. You may walk past a complex and see a woman cutting the grass with large shears. You might think, why aren't they using a machine? But there is another question. Why does she have a job? Efficiency isn't always the only consideration. Walk into a Gaisano mall and you might see several people working at the registers where you might expect fewer employees. Again, you're seeing more than efficiency. You're seeing a culture that places considerable value on people having work and being part of the community. The Filipino informal economy isn't simply about making money. It's also about people helping one another navigate life. I'll help you today. Perhaps you'll help someone else tomorrow. Once you understand that, you begin to see opportunities that aren't necessarily about spending more money. I've learned to listen and cooperate. Whether I'm at the bank, registering a vehicle, extending a visa, or buying tires, I've discovered that treating people with respect and patience usually gets me further than complaining about how things are different from what I'm accustomed to. So when you encounter something that doesn't fit your Western expectations, stop for a moment. Instead of asking, why don't they do this the way we do it? Ask, how do I navigate this within Filipino culture? Years ago, I brought American college students to the Philippines. On one occasion, I wanted to take 14 students to visit the incarcerated in a local jail. I was told by a man who regularly visited the jail and who was fairly well known in the Philippines that we couldn't simply walk in. So I thought, perhaps there's another way to approach this. We bought two 50-kilo bags of rice. We walked up to the large metal gate, each carrying a bag of rice. I knocked. The guard initially wasn't interested in letting 14 foreigners walk into the jail, but when he saw the rice, he smiled. The gate opened. All 14 of us entered. The students had also brought smaller bags containing toothpaste and toothbrushes. Now, I'm not suggesting that you should walk around trying to solve every problem with a bag of rice. The point is that sometimes the solution isn't more money. Sometimes it's understanding the people and the culture around you. And that brings me to another lesson I've learned. You don't have to spend a lot of money to have a great evening. I live near Naga, Cebu. There's a beautiful boardwalk along the water. It was originally wooden. Typhoon Odette destroyed it and it has since been rebuilt in concrete. But on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday evenings, there's a beautiful water and light show twice each night. There's no admission charge. A little train travels along the boardwalk. Vendors sell all kinds of food and other items, and there are restaurants if you want something more substantial. You can have a wonderful night out without spending much money at all. And sometimes my wife and I do spend money. I enjoy buying her new dresses and clothes at the mall, and she appreciates it. But I've discovered something interesting. Sometimes I can make her just as happy by taking her to an ukay-ukay store. If you're unfamiliar with the term ukay-ukay, it's essentially a second-hand clothing market. Not all ukay-ukay stores are equal. In my experience, the ones inside local malls are often better than some of the roadside shops. My wife can carry out an armful of clothes for what one or two pieces might cost at the mall. I've learned not to assume that spending more automatically creates more enjoyment. I've learned something similar about medical care. One evening I had my first serious allergic reaction. I developed a welting rash across my chest, stomach, and legs. I went to the local hospital. They put me on an IV, and about half an hour later I was on my way. I was fine. The second time it happened, I realized that ants were either biting or stinging ants were apparently causing the reaction. I had a banana tree and I chopped them down. I had a lot of banana trees. I chopped them down regularly because they only get one bundle and you got to cut them down. Anyway, I was carrying it on my shoulder, the trunk to the compost pile, and that's when the ants would get me. But this time, instead of going to the hospital, I went to a small clinic that had helped us with prescriptions before. They put me on an IV, and about half hour later, I was feeling fine. The cost was about half of what the hospital had charged. I'm not suggesting you should avoid hospitals. If you've got something serious that requires hospital facilities, go to the hospital. But for some ordinary medical needs, I found that a small local clinic can serve you very well and cost considerably less. Another piece of advice: be respectful to security guards. You may wonder why a security guard is trying to help you find something or direct you somewhere. That's part of what they do. They can save you a great deal of time. Of course, sometimes they may send you in the completely wrong direction. Say living. But I've also noticed something about Filipino culture that can explain some of those wrong directions. There's a strong social pressure against admitting that you don't know something. So occasionally someone will give you an answer rather than simply saying, I don't know. You can see it in their expression. They know or they don't know, and they don't want to disappoint you. They might just point their lips and over there. I've learned to appreciate rather than become angry about it. I've learned to appreciate security guards for another reason. I once witnessed something I will never forget. We were driving along a crowded road when we saw a man get off a motorcycle, calmly walk toward another man sitting with friends on a concrete circular bench around a tree, and he pulled out a pistol. I could see the fear in the victim's eyes just before it happened. The intended victim was shot and killed. The attacker was also killed moments later when a security guard intervened with his own weapon. That experience stayed with me. Security guards aren't simply people standing at a door checking bags. They are often a first line of defense for the people around them. They stand for hours, sometimes in difficult conditions, protecting a particular place and the people in it. So be kind to the security guards. I've come to believe that your success as an expat in the Philippines depends in considerable part on how well you respect the culture and the people. You cannot learn a culture while maintaining a superior attitude towards it. And believe me, Filipinos will notice your attitude. I've found Filipinos to be remarkably humble and remarkably gracious people. So don't be the ugly American. You came here for an adventure. Live it. Learn the culture. Learn how the people navigate life. Discover that living well on a fixed income isn't necessarily about having more money. Sometimes it's about learning how to live differently. Now, before I close, I want to give you a few everyday tips, things that I've learned from living here. First, buy yourself 2 back brushes when you go in the shower. One is for your back, one is for your feet. In the Philippines, you wear your slippers outside, and they can't keep your feet from accumulating dirt or germs. So you got to wash your feet before you go to bed. It's just what Filipinos do. It's what Asians do. It's what you should do. You don't need to be going to bed with dirty feet. Your wife will be happy. You may laugh, but when you're living in the Philippines, do not go barefoot in the house because the floors are concrete and ceramic tile. And if you do, you'll have what happened to me happen to you. The bones in your feet will start to hurt after a while. Now, so you got to wear house slippers. That's one of those little things you learn after you've lived here for a while. Another useful item is white flour. I've been using it for like decades, which you can find at most pharmacies. If you get a mosquito bite, and sometimes the mosquito bites just really annoy me at first. They itch, and the little white flour just takes care of it. It's a oil, eucalyptus oil. It's a Chinese product. It's in almost all the drugstores. It works well for me. They do have things that the Filipino businesses offer, and you can check those out. I just got stuck on white flour. Now, Loxin is commonly used for aches and pains, and it contains ibuprofen in some formulations. So you need to check the label and follow the dosage instructions, but you can get ibuprofen in the Philippines. It's in Loxin. And there's another one I've learned from Filipinos. Sometimes a nagging cough can be helped by gargling hexatidine Bactidol. The Filipinos just call it Bactidol. They'll just say, get some Bactidol, you're coughing. On more than one occasion, I've developed a cough, and a few days of gargling the Bactidol stopped it. I mean, like, I've had a cough once for a few weeks, and I'm like, geez, what is happening to me? When am I going to get rid of this? And my sister-in-law said, you need Bactidol. I got some Bactidol. I'd seen it when you walk down and get Strepsils in the grocery store aisle. And it worked great. It just took care of it fairly quickly. And finally, there's something that you can do that has nothing to do with saving money. Get a little dog. Filipinos love little dogs. We have a Maltese, and let me tell you, he is a loving little monster. He thinks he's a big dog. I once owned numerous huskies and had a sled, and this little dog thinks he can pull me when I walk him. He's like a miniature husky. But there's something about having a little dog around the house. He brings companionship, laughter, and a certain calm to your home. And of course, if your wife is happy with the dog, you've probably made a good investment. She will consider the dog's barking a deterrent to akyat bahay. This is a Filipino phrase that refers to someone who's a robber. It means climbing house, and they have to climb gates, climb fences, climb into the house. So akyat bahay is a term for those people that would break in and rob your home. But if you have a dog inside barking, the akyat bahay really gets disinterested really quick. So living well in the Philippines isn't always about the big decisions. Sometimes it's about learning the little things that make everyday life easier, healthier, less expensive, and more enjoyable. So once again, this is Philip. Watch my channel, Everyday Expat Cebu. Leave a comment below. I'll answer, and I'll see you in the next adventure. Thanks. Bye.